Hey, good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Fueled Life podcast. And the reason that this is called the Fueled Life podcast is because our intention is to bring you information that you just don't take into your brain or into your mind or as another one of those things that you bring in and it just kind of goes in and out one side. It's intended to bring you information so that you can have a transformative experience and you can take these simple applications that we bring each week so that you can have a fueled life. You can have an abundance. You can have more energy, more cognitive strength, make better decisions, sleep better, and have a better spiritual experience. And this isn't a religious experience, it's a spiritual experience. So, one of the things that we're going to be focusing on today is something that we all take for granted, and it is the power of breath and why oxygen is the key element to peak performance. Now, what if I told you that breathing could actually be keeping you from experiencing this abundance, this fueled life? And we take it for granted because most of us don't actually breathe. We just bring in enough air to just barely expand our lungs. And yet we wonder why we don't feel more energized, even more calm. We wonder why our sleep is disrupted. And what if I told you that breathing was the key to that element, that experience, and having a more energized focus on what you're doing, on your ability to think and speak and respond. And it also produces mental clarity. So today we're going to dive into this topic about mastering your breath. And this isn't a master class. This is just an overall view. So I just want to put that out there, that this is not going to be so in depth that it's going to blow your mind, but it will blow your mind. And we're going to exercise a few of these little principles of how you can do this. And they don't take any extra time. So net, remember this, no extra time, net. All right. So I'm joined with Charlie, my friend, and welcome, Charlie. And tell me, what is your thought about this idea about breathing?
Well, that was a long opening. And I think you did a lot of good breathing exercise that got you amped up and excited for this podcast because I don't need to buy anything. I don't need to make a green drink. I don't need to do anything but slow down and then become aware of a breathing technique or slowing my breath down and becoming conscious of it, because that'll open me up and fuel me in a different way. And I think that is something that you practice before this opening because you're excited. I'm excited. It's simple, but not easy. It's simple to start practicing a few times a day. And we'll show you a few things you can do, but it's as simple as putting a timer on your phone, not a timer, excuse me, like a couple of different like alarms that say, hey, take a breath. It's like, oh, that's how I had to start, Stanley. I couldn't just think of it because I had conditioned thinking. I had a way of doing things all my life. I didn't realize I was breathing through my nose, short breaths all the time and just going about things. I mean, I didn't know that. And like you said, no extra time. You're already doing it. You're already breathing. You're already going through the day. Why not stop for a moment and really feel the lungs and get in touch with what's going on?
One of the things that as I was thinking about this podcast this morning, essentially is if we remember what we forgot. And what I mean by that is if we look at a baby can actually teach us a lesson here. A baby breathes properly. If you look at a puppy breathing on the floor, they are expanding their abdominal area. If you watch a baby breathe, their belly's moving, their chest isn't, enlarging. Their belly fills up and then it lowers down. And if you just think about that, how can you be cognizant of that in a very simple manner is by placing by placing a hand on your belly to see if it's moving.
Yeah.
Laying, if you're doing an exercise where you're laying on your back, put your hand on there or put a book on there. Put a small book on your belly and see if you feel it lifting up off your rib cage. And if it is, then you're getting a deeper breath than just existing and just bringing in enough to survive.
Yeah, you want to work on blood pressure and anxiety and stress and going into a meeting,
Right.
going into doing a presentation, or making a difficult phone call, or any of that. Breathing sets the stage for success.
Exactly. One of the things, imagine if you could wake up feeling clear-headed, feeling calm and energized, and it begins at the very beginning in the morning. And, I have a morning practice of a few things that don't take a lot of extra time. And the first thing that I do is I say a prayer of gratitude, and I ask God to inspire me in such a way that when whoever I meet today, unbeknownst to me, that I can make an impact on their life. That's one way that I start it. And then the second way is I take about 10 deep breaths before I get out of bed. And then what I'm doing is I'm calming my body because it's awake, it's ready to roll, and I need to really set the stage for what my next process or what I do in the morning. And I won't share my whole morning routine with you, but one of the things that I do is while I'm brushing my teeth, here again, no extra time. I'm up to 75 squats when I'm brushing my teeth. So it's amazing what that will do. It doesn't take me any extra time. In 2 minutes, I can get 75 squats in. And then I do a 5-minute cold shower, and it's 52 degrees, and it's every day. It's non-negotiable. And I'm actually up to 5.5, but I measure it at 5. So throughout the day, what I'm doing is I'm taking these mini breaks and I'm going to be presently aware of taking these breaths. And I do that. So while you're making your coffee, you're waiting for it to drip, just stand there and take some breaths. And, we'll talk about box breathing here in a minute, but that's one of the ways, no extra time involved, that we can make an impact on our physical and mental and emotional health.
Yeah. And the only time I bent or squatted when I was brushing my teeth is when I dropped the cap. But I never would have thought of, hey, why don't you just drop down and come back up and do a few? Not as many as you, or it doesn't matter the number. It matters that you do it properly. You drop down, you come up, and you're having a good old time brushing your teeth, and you actually feel good when you're done. And you said there's cold plunge type shower thing. There's different things you can do in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. Okay. No one ever said, hey, while you're brushing your teeth, first of all, the water's not running while I'm brushing my teeth, because that's a waste. Okay. Hey, that one I learned on my own, I think. And then it was you that said, oh, I do squats while I brush my teeth. I'm like, what? Never thought of that. Let me try. And for a while, I could see that I'm brushing my teeth harder because the squats are getting harder. And it's like, wait, I don't need to do as many as Stanley out of the gate. Over time, maybe I want to do more. Maybe I only want to do 15. It doesn't matter. Because it's a whole, it helps with the breathing, because then it wakes up me. Oh, let's breathe through this. And you can do that while you're brushing your teeth still. It's pretty amazing. And like you said, the centers of the mind, the emotion, the chakras, the blood is flowing. You're pretty alive after something like that.
Exactly. Intentional breathing delivers more oxygen to your cells and boosts energy and mental clarity and physical endurance. Now, if you can do one thing that enhances all of those, my question is, why not consider just adopting just a little bit? Just like you don't have to do 75 squats. Okay. You don't have to do 5, do 1, and boost it up. And it is, when we're doing this repetitively, now it becomes part of our identity. It's just like brushing our teeth. I always tell people, only brush the teeth that you want to keep. Well, they want to keep them all, so they brush them all, and they don't pick and choose. They just do it. And it doesn't take any extra time to brush that tooth, that molar, than it does that dog tooth. So it doesn't take any extra time. So while you're there, you can actually you can do some breath work through your nose while you're brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, by expanding your diaphragmatic area, your belly. As you're cognizant of that, you're thinking about it, you're aware of it. Now you go, what is the energy level that's changing? And how can I implement this in other times of my day? And it doesn't cost me any extra time, doesn't take any extra energy.
Yeah, and box breathing. So whether it's 4, 6 seconds, why don't you explain that? Like, it's a breath in, it's a hold, and then it's an exhale, and then it's a hold, and then isn't that what you would, isn't
Yes.
that your style? All right, explain that, how that goes.
So when we think of a box, we think of 4 different sides.
Yeah.
And so the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through our nose. And the reason that we're breathing in through our nose is, number one, it's filtering the air coming in. It's also warming the air as it goes down through our throat and into our diaphragm, into our lungs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through our nose 4 seconds. And then we're going to hold that for 4 seconds. And then you're going to exhale out of your mouth so that you can expand. You can really contract the lungs, and you're getting that air out. And then you're going to hold that for 4 seconds. Then you're going to start all over, and you're going to breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. And as you do that box, there's something that I do in the morning. I have this, it's called an analema stick. And what it does is it makes my water coherent. We won't go into that right now, but it takes 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So while I'm standing there, here again, while I'm standing there doing nothing else, I got to be very present with that. I'm doing box breathing while the timer is going off. So I'm not even focusing on it. And you don't even have to count. You can tap your 4 fingers and then breathe out 4 fingers. And what this is doing is it's calming your nervous system, and it's increasing the oxygen flow to your brain and your body. Very, very simple, but very revolutionary.
I do 6 seconds.
You can do 6 seconds.
Yeah, I might have started at 4, but I wanted to slow down. Even I'm always rushing, Stanley. It's like, whoo, 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 and that helps me slow down. And it's not the holding part. That's easy. It's the 6 in and the 6 out I really needed to work on, especially out. I want to dump it fast. And that control, that systematic control, really did wonders over and right away. It's not like I had to eat, detox my body to get to that point.
Right.
I could start it immediately and start to realize that at first I'm like maybe doing 5 seconds, and then holding it is no problem. Then it coming out in 3, darn it. And then, but all of a sudden it started to sync up.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to say is that as you start this, you will notice that your body is going to go into this reactive state, and it's going to say, hey, we need breath. We need breath. And you just calm your body down and you control that. And, in the first few breaths, if you're new to this, you may notice that you might get a little almost lightheaded.
Yeah.
In the beginning. But as your body gets acclimated, because what you're doing is you're retraining the animal that's inside. Mm-hmm. And because our body wants to take control, and you say, no, I'm going to control the body. The body's not going to control me. And as your body regulates, then it says, okay, this is normal now. This is the new normal. And after a few breaths, after 3 or 4 of those box cycles, you'll get used to that. So I just want to encourage you to know that As you're doing this, it's also reducing the cortisol, and your body's wanting to fight that being trained.
Yeah, Stanley, and I didn't know as a kid, and it's no finger pointing, no fault of anything except no school system taught us this. No teacher said, "Hey, we're gonna before we go into the test, we're all gonna put down our pens, close our eyes, and we're just gonna breathe and center and get connected to sort well." To the studying that you hopefully did, and that it's okay, we're just taking a test, this isn't who you are, and you're the result of it, you know what I mean? It's like I didn't have that. So in 2006 and 7 I started practicing, and started with meditation. Like, Stanley, I could not close my eyes and breathe to 10. So I mean count, just normal breathing. Close my eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. This isn't so hard. Whoops. Start over. Then I get to 6. Jeez, I might go into a thought. So I meant I couldn't start at 1, get to 10, and just breathe and count. I actually was pinging around, then laughing like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe." And I didn't say I can't believe how messed up I am or how stupid I am. No, I can't believe how
Right.
grateful I am that I get to now calm down my mind and start doing this. And it worked. I would had a retail store back then, and customers can be very difficult. They are not breathing properly. No. And they're scared. They have an eye disease. They don't know what to do, and they came in and they're dumping on you, and they're angry, and they don't want to spend the money. And before I started practicing this, I would get pissed. Like, who the hell do you think you are? Get out of, And I would come back at them with a little frustration and anger. And I know they could see it, but I didn't care because they pissed me off. And I could feel while I was working, it's starting to happen. I'd say, "Would you mind? I will be right back." And I'd go into the bathroom of the store, and I guess what I did? I breathed.
Right.
I went, I filled it, and I just brought myself to how can I best serve them? This isn't about me being right, making a sale. It's about helping them heal so they can move forward in life. And I would breathe and just center, and I'd come back out a different person. And no longer would I allow the tension drive my decisions.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the things that you just brought up was that when you were in that state, you were taking short breaths. So when you think about it, think about a time when you're being chased by a dog or you're
Cops.
or a cop. Yeah. You're taking these short breaths, and what's happening is your cortisol is rising up. Now, by taking those deep breaths and then relaxing and allowing it to expand and contract, now what you're doing is you're controlling the body. Now, the other reason that you want to breathe through your nose is because it produces a gas in your body called nitric oxide. Now, this is a good gas. And this kind of gas goes in, it plays a vital role in expanding the blood vessels. It improves blood flow, and it increases oxygen delivery to your cells. Now, one thing that I want to share this, and this is one thing that nobody teaches. And like you said, Charlie, why didn't they teach us these things in health class? We didn't learn about this in health class. We learned about productivity and reproductive systems and dissecting frogs. And we learned about all of those things, but we didn't learn about our own health. I mean, really our own health and simple things that we can do.
Right.
So, when we think about breathing and what it does for our body, one of the things that I want to caution people of is if you're using mouthwash with antiseptic, stop. Know what that's doing to your body. It's not removing the good germs. It is removing the good germs. It's not removing just the bad germs. It's removing all the bacteria.
Everything. Yeah.
Okay. And what it's doing is it's reducing your body's ability to produce the nitric oxide in your mouth which then gets transferred into your gut. And now breath, breathing in through your nose, increases that. It's important for your energy.
Mm. What I like about what we're doing here in the Fueled Life is that we keep it simple. There is so much science
Right.
to why, okay? But where I try it, I need to have a conversation with my children. I need to have a difficult conversation with my wife. Or it's always when I'm feeling my blood start to change, boil. I'm feeling tension in my body. I want to say something, like I react instead of respond. So, I want to blame, I want to complain. It's like, what, you know what I mean, Stanley? It's like,
Yeah.
when I feel that person starting, it's running on, you said it. It's like I'm breathing short. Matter of fact, you ever notice people hold their breath a lot when
Right.
things get hard, and it's the worst thing you can do. You're shutting it all off.
Right.
And I now go, I say, I need to breathe into this. I need to take a moment. I even do the race winning. I can do that. It opens me up. And
Right.
you know what I mean? And it's not woo woo. Oh, trust me, I was not the guy. Like my first conference, and they said, shut your eyes, let's breathe. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's weird. And then I'm looking around like, but everyone's doing it around me and they don't feel like it's weird. What's wrong with me? Well, you've come from you live on the East Coast, not on the West Coast. They're all walking around doing that. And I was on the West Coast, but it helped me, Stanley. It's like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. When we begin to normalize health, we don't have a normal health system. But when we begin to normalize what we see as woo woo, just like you said, and we understand what it is that we're doing, why are we eating certain foods? Why are we drinking a certain amount of water? Why are we taking a certain amount of supplement? Why are we getting certain tests? And when we understand and we demystify it, that's what this podcast is about. It's demystifying breath. And it's not just the ability to survive, because if we're just in the survival mode, we're not in a thriving mode. And survival is just getting the bare necessities to call it living on this side of the ground. What our intention is for you to thrive on this side of the ground so that you can do the things that you want to do, think the way that you want to think. And as you're taking deep breaths and you're doing box breathing or belly breathing, you're increasing your parasympathetic nervous system. That is the calm. That is the eat and rest. Generally, when you are in a hyper state and you're breathing shallow, you're not ready to eat a burrito. You're not ready to sit down at the dinner table, because your nervous system is in hyper alert system. And what it does is it really wreaks havoc on your body. So taking these deep breaths can make all the difference.
And you're not kidding. I would lay down near my dog and listen to him breathe. And nobody had the nice thing about animals, they're instinctual and they don't challenge the way their creator made them.
Right.
They follow the rules. And it was, I mean, he would take deep breaths, and it's like he didn't even. Of course, when he was cooling down, he knew whatever the system had to do with the tongue out, But then the mouth would close, and deep, and his stomach would move, and it's like, wow, how do you know how to do that?
Right.
I didn't teach you, but you teach me an awful lot.
Yeah. What part of the animal kingdom is actually more advanced, right?
The part that doesn't question our creators. What happens from childhood and on? It is not like somebody like, you know what I mean? It just life gets fast. Dogs, dogs and animals take time. They reconnect. They're always connected to source to me. And us as humans, we have that power of choice and self-will, and which takes us in all sorts of directions and takes us away from, well, the creator formula, which is fine because we come back and we start talking about breathing, connecting, grounding, and finding how it, just more grace and gratitude and appreciation for today.
And one of the things that people will ask is, well, how quick can I get results? I hear people talk about taking different supplements, and they take it for a day and they go, oh, I didn't notice any difference. Well, I can tell you this, and you can try this out right now. Take 3 deep breaths and hold your breath for 5 seconds and then release it. This won't even be box breathing. And I have been on the phone. You can do this while I'm talking. I've been on the phone with people that I've never met, will never meet. And I can sense in their voice that they're having one of those days that they have on a regular basis. And so I'll say, it appears, I may be wrong, but you have had a stressful day. It sounds like it in your voice, but maybe I'm totally wrong. Well, I know I'm not. And they go, yeah, it's been one of those days. And I go, well, how would you like to change that in about 20 seconds? And they're like, how can that happen? And so I'll do this and I'll say, just place your hands on your chest. Okay. So they're getting that connection, and then close your eyes and take a deep breath through your nose for 5 seconds in, and hold it for 5 seconds, and then slowly release it 5 seconds. Now that's a triangle breath. Okay. But do that 3 or 4 times. And they were like, man, I'm going to a meeting. I need to share this with my people. I need to share this with my employees because, some occupations are higher stress than others. And getting back to the basic can change the trajectory in your office, in your home, and most definitely in your own personal life.
Yeah, you're not kidding, Sam. I mean, think of the time we're in right now. We're in the home stretch of the campaigning for the big election. It's like, I couldn't imagine being on those teams and dealing with all that. And I don't need to imagine it. But Stanley, and here's some clues that if you're, you're not connecting to this breath that's a part of who you already are. It's breathy. When I'm on the phone, you can hear breathy people like, like all this, they kind of, you can hear their emotion coming out through their words. Like, you know what I mean? That like, and they're very quick breathing and very excited, easy, and very tension in their voice. And they're not open. They're not willing. They're like, I don't want them as a client. Hey, but like you said, are you willing to crack the door to what could be possible? And just right now, take one little step back and slow down and just take a breath, because they're going to open the receptors of listening and accepting what we might have to help them with. And that's huge. So I always say I can hear it in, people breathing heavy and, well, you and it's like I can relate too, because I can't believe this happened, and yeah. And like you said, that's all activated nervous system. That's all survival mode. That is not a thriving mindset connected to source, who is calmer and not jumping to things. And that takes some time and years and work and hanging out with the right people and, practicing this stuff, wouldn't you say? But it starts with just doing it.
Exactly. And it's simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Complexity is the enemy of execution. And this is so, so simple because you're doing it already. But when you do it with intention, that's when you can make the impact on your life. And now, if you just want to look at the disposition of people, when they're in that high stress mode. What do they look like? Their shoulders are rounded, their head is hunched forward, their back is rounded, okay, and they're sitting, and their pelvic is tilted, and they're showing dog teeth. And
Yeah.
what happens is that they're in that tense mode, and to reduce that, to release that, taking 3 or 4 intentional breaths, just do that and watch what happens to the tension in your neck, the tension in your shoulders, how your back really just raises up, and how much more confident you feel. If you are going into a meeting and you know it's one of those meetings that's going to have some tension involved, prepare yourself by breathing before you go in, and you'll be in a calmer state. And you'll also be open to the possibilities of, hey, maybe there's something that I'm not seeing in another person's perspective that I need to be open to. And you can't do that with a closed body, closed mind, closed tension in your muscles.
Well, Stanley, also bent restricts the airway.
Exactly.
So this has been wonderful. And the simplest formula:
Yeah.
4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. And you can jump it up to 6. You could probably do 8. That isn't the deal. The deal is get used to 4. 4 in, hold 4. 4 out, hold 4. 4 in, and do that. Do it 3 times. Do it 6 times. Do it 10 times. Do it until it's fluid and you're actually liking it. And
Right.
then you will actually then go back into it's time to go into that meeting. And I feel good about that. And it's working.
Yeah. One thing, last thing I want to say, Charlie, is that somebody that says that they don't have time for this, they don't have time for 5 minutes of this box breathing, I say you are absolutely the person that needs to do 10 minutes then.
Yep.
Because if you are so tightly wound that you can't give your body the energy and the fuel that it needs through breathing, you need to reevaluate that. Because if you don't have 5 minutes, you don't have a life. Because you really waste more time. And you can do this going down the road. You can, while you're driving, you can do this going down the road.
Oh, especially in traffic. What are you kidding?
Yes. Yes.
And Stanley, I got a little fun fact. What is the first place the human body gains weight?
The first place the human body gains weight. Oh, tell me, I'm at a stump here.
The back of the tongue.
The back of the tongue.
Yeah. The part that comes,
Okay.
the lower half back of the tongue. And that's why you see choking and people breathing issues, because they're starting to put on some weight, and the part that fills out the most in the back is the back of the tongue, which restricts and it struggles with swallowing, and we'll do more on that. And then where it then goes to the next part of the body, then the next part of the body, and then the last part of the body. So it's the body's trying to not do this, but hey, you keep doing this to it, it's going to pack it on the body where it needs to. And we'll get into that more in the Fueled Life. But I just want a little fun fact.
That is
starting to put on a little weight. It's gonna fatten up the back of that tongue.
Well, it's a little difficult to weigh that thing. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, and please, you know what to do. You've watched this. Share this with somebody that you care about. This is simple little elements that you can include. Share it, like it, leave a comment. If there's something more that you want to know about this, leave a comment, reach out. We're both on social media, and we're both on LinkedIn, and you can also reach us on the Fueled Life podcast and leave a comment, and we'll get back with you. So in the meantime, make sure you're breathing and enjoy a fueled life. Until next week,